Bat and the End of Everything. Chapter 16, House Call. It turned out that Baby Cakes had to spend 4 nights at the vet clinic. Mr. Grayson came that very first day, as soon as Jenny's grandmother told him what had happened. He'd come to the clinic straight from soccer practice, and Bat thought he looked sort of funny in knee-high socks and shorts. He even had a sweatband on. Bat's mom had told him not to worry about payment. Baby Cakes was a pro bono case, she said, which Bat knew meant that his mom was taking care of the bunny for free. The way that she had for the hawk who had been shot with a BB gun and had a broken wing. And Bat went with his mom to the clinic every day for the whole week. He had a nice routine. After settling Thor into a kennel, he put drops in Baby Cake's eye and spent some time combing her and giving her gentle pats. Then he'd help Lawrence with whatever Lawrence needed, mostly giving baths and nail trims, and walked for dogs who were boarding overnight while their people were out of town. He and Lawrence would eat lunch together at a nearby park, and twice Mom joined them on slow days. After lunch, Bat would take Thor out of his kennel and into an unoccupied exam room to give them some food and let him sniff around. Then Thor would curl up in Bat's lap while Bat read a book from the library. It was pretty perfect. Bat couldn't think of a better way to spend his summer. On Friday, Baby Cakes was well enough to go home to Jenny's house. The bunny was holding her head almost straight again, and she could blink both of her eyes. Jenny and her grandmother came to pick her up with a carrier that had a fresh, soft towel in the bottom of it. Jenny held the door open while Bat gently guided Baby Cakes inside. When the carrier was safely locked, Bat said, "She doesn't need the eye drops anymore, but you still have to give her antibiotics twice a day for another 10 days. And if she starts to look worse or tilt her head or get mucusy, you need to bring her back right away." "Okay, Bat, I know," said Jenny. "Your mom already told me and Grandma all that." "Okay," Bat said. "I just want to make sure." Jenny picked up the carrier by its handle. Her grandmother was standing by the glass door that led outside. "You can come visit Baby Cakes if you want, Bat," Jenny said. "If you want to check on her." "When?" Bat asked. Bat went to Jenny's house on Sunday. It was supposed to be an every other weekend, but Dad was out of town for work, so Mom drove him. She brought her little doctor's bag with her. "Might as well take a look at Baby Cakes since we're driving there anyway," she said. Bat felt his heart bursting with pride that his mom was doing a special vet visit just for Baby Cakes. It turned out that Jenny didn't live very far away. Bat brought 2 carrots that he'd harvested from Thor's garden as a get-well-soon present for Baby Cakes. He left the tops on because rabbits like the greens as much as they like the carrots, and also because there are different vitamins in the greens. It was true that Jenny's house had lots of animals and lots of people, but it was also true that her house had a nice, friendly feeling, and it didn't smell like lots of animals and people lived there. Baby Cakes was in a big, deep bathtub in Jenny's parents' bathroom. It was a hot day, and the bathtub was the coolest place in the whole house. "She can't jump out," Jenny said. "The sides are too high and slippery. And we can close the door to the bathroom so that the dog can't get in. Not that she wants to. She's a scaredy cat." Bat thought it was actually funny to call a dog a scaredy cat. "Our actual cat ignores Baby Cakes entirely," Jenny said. Jenny had put Baby Cake's plastic hutch inside the bathtub, and she was asleep inside it. Bat wasn't sure if they should wake her up, but Mom said it would be okay, and she lifted up the hutch and set it on the bathroom floor. Then she scooped Baby Cakes into her lap. She listened to her heart and lungs and looked in her eyes and ears and nose. And even though Bat wasn't a vet, he could see Baby Cakes was much better. Her little nose quivered and twitched with interest at everything Bat's mom did, and she kicked her legs back and tried to escape when Mom shone the light into her eyes. Bat's mom laughed and set Baby Cakes back into the bathtub. Okay, she said. "I'm all done." "She's looking good, Jenny." "You're taking good care of her." Jenny grinned. Bat's mom went to have a cup of iced tea in the kitchen with Jenny's grandmother, who was still taking care of Jenny and her brothers. And Bat and Jenny sat on the edge of the tub and broke the carrots into little pieces, taking turns feeding them to Baby Cakes. That was scary, Jenny said after a few minutes. I'm so glad Baby Cakes is going to be all right. Me too, said Bat, enjoying the soft tickling feeling of Baby Cake's whiskers against his palm. Baby Cakes finished the last bite of the carrot and hopped around the bathtub, sniffing each corner of it as if she was hoping to find something more to eat. Then Jenny said, "So how much longer do you get to keep that skunk before you have to let him go?" The question ruined the good mood Bat had been in, watching Baby Cakes and enjoying how healthy she seemed. "I don't want to talk about Thor," he said. "You always want to talk about Thor," Jenny answered. Bat didn't say anything for a minute, but Jenny just waited. Finally, Bat said quietly, "I don't want to talk about Thor going away." "Oh," said Jenny, "I understand." The truth was that Bat's mom had brought up this topic the night before, and Bat hadn't want to talk about it then, either. "He's really nice and plump, and the nights are warm now," Mom had said. "Really, I think Thor is big enough to take care of himself any time. Maybe we can give him another week or two just to make sure." Bat hadn't said anything to this. He had been sitting in a kitchen chair, eating graham crackers. But when Mom had brought up the subject of Thor's release, he lost his appetite, and his mouth even felt too dry to swallow the bite in his mouth that he'd already chewed up. He had wrapped his arms around himself and rocked a little, back and forth, and when his mom finished talking, he went into the bathroom and spit out the last bite of graham cracker and didn't come out for a long time. Now the same question had followed him into Jenny's bathroom. Here, Bat didn't have a mouthful of graham cracker, but he had the same feeling of wanting to spit something out, of the discomfort that came with the thought of Thor being gone from his life. "Are you scared he won't be able to take care of himself?" Jenny asked. Bat nodded, his throat too full to speak. "If I had to let my dog or cat go, I'd miss them so much," Jenny said. Bat nodded again. Even though he couldn't make himself say the words, and even though it made him sad to hear Jenny saying them, there was a relief to it, too, hearing her talk about Bat's worst fears. Bat and Jenny sat together on the edge of the cool, white bathtub. Baby Cakes hopped over, her little nose twitching hopefully. "We don't have any more carrots," Jenny told the bunny. But Baby Cakes stayed there anyway, like she was glad for their company, even if they didn't have anything else to give her. Chapter 17. At the Pool. Janie had been spending most of her days at the city pool. It had a low diving board and a high diving board. It had long and neat rows of lounge chairs. It had a snack bar that sold pizza and pretzels and bottled water. It had a boys' locker room that had a drain in the middle of the floor. Janie said the girls' locker room also had a drain in the middle of its floor. There was a little kids' pool that was shallow all the way across. In the big pool, 3 lap swimming lanes were sectioned off with plastic floating ropes that you weren't supposed to hang on. Those lanes were almost always taken by grown-ups, some of them very old, swimming seriously back and forth. Janie loved the city pool. Bat did not. It was crowded and loud and too bright. The concrete was rough and hot beneath Bat's feet. The air was sharp with the smell of chlorine, and no animals were allowed. "It's not so bad, is it, Sport?" Dad asked. It was an every other weekend, and Dad had let Janie choose the Saturday activity. "Yes, it is," said Bat. "It is." He was wearing sunglasses, which helped, and he and his dad both wore baseball caps, which helped too. Bat had a long-sleeved swim shirt on because he hated the feeling of sunscreen on his body. Dad had found a couple of lounge chairs in the shade and spread out their towels. He lay back on one of them, closed his eyes, and said, "This is the life." Bat tilted his lounge chair upright and sat. He felt hot and itchy inside the swim shirt. Janie emerged from the girls' locker room and looked around. Bat waved until she saw them and watched as she walked across the concrete toward them. "Wow, it's hot," she said when she arrived at their spot. "Bat, do you want to go jump in the water with me?" "Not yet," Bat answered. "Okay," Jenny said. Then she said, "Dad, you're not expecting anyone else to meet us here, are you?" Dad laughed. "No, Janie," he said, "not today." He opened his eyes. "Who would he be expecting?" Bat asked Janie. "His girlfriend." Janie said, and her voice sounded funny. Dad has a girlfriend? Yes, Bat, said Janie, sounding exasperated, though Bat didn't know why she'd expect that from him to know about a girlfriend. Suzette, remember from the donut shop? Dad said that was a friend, Bat said. That's what he said, replied Janie. Bat looked at Dad. So did Janie. Well, Dad said, but that's all he said. See, said Janie, and she turned and marched toward the pool. Dad stood up. Wait, he called after Janie. Come back. Janie stopped and stood, facing away from Bat and Dad, her arms crossed. Her whole body looked tense, and Bat could see how strong she'd gotten with all the swimming. Then she turned around and walked back. Sit down, Dad said, and he sat too. Let's have a talk. Janie sat down on Bat's lounge chair next to him. She wasn't wet, so Bat didn't complain. First, I want to apologize, Dad said, and that got Bat's attention. Apologizing wasn't something Dad did very often. I shouldn't have surprised you guys the way I did. I just really wanted you to meet my friend Suzette. I went about it the wrong way. I promise not to do that again. Next to Bat, Janie's shoulder softened. I like surprises, she said, just not that surprise. I get it, Dad said, and I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? Yes, said Janie, but she didn't sound sure about it. How about you, Bat? I wasn't mad at you, he answered. Dad smiled. Okay, sport, he said. But is Suzette your girlfriend? Or your friend? Bat asked. Dad adjusted his ball cap lower over his eyes. It took him a little while to answer. She's somewhere in between, he finally said. More than a friend, but not really a girlfriend. Maybe she'll be my girlfriend eventually. What changes a friend into a girlfriend? Bat asked. Is it kissing? Now Dad looked uncomfortable. He took his hat off and squeezed it and put it on again. Sometimes, he said. Bat imagined Dad kissing Suzette, but it was hard for him to picture because he couldn't really remember what she looked like. He hadn't paid very good attention when he'd met her at the donut shop, because he'd been worried about Janie's headache. Next time they met, he promised himself he'd paid better attention. I like our bike rides and going to the donut shop together, Bat said. It's one of the best parts of every other weekends. Yeah, said Janie, and she smiled big at Bat. A big, wide smile. Me too. It's like our tradition, just the three of us. Just the three of us, Dad said, and he nodded. Okay, I'll remember that. Deal? He said, and he offered his hand to Janie. Deal, she said, smiling at Dad, now in the same open way, and they shook hands. Deal, said Bat, and he shook Dad's hand and then Janie's hand, which made everyone laugh. Okay, Dad said again, and this time, when he said it, it felt like they were starting over, in a good way. How about we all go for a dip in the pool? What do you say? Okay, said Janie, standing up. No face splashing, Bat said. No face splashing, promised Janie and Dad together.